Welcome back to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you for the support that you continue to render to our channel. Ladies and gentlemen, Rigathi Gachagua is not the former impeached deputy president. Rigathi Gachagua is a force. Rigathi Gachagua is becoming a movement. And I want to repeat, whoever advised William Ruto to impeach Rigathi Gachagua, that person is a witch because he's causing more problems to William Ruto. Now, it is even funny that the same person or the same people could continue to tell William Ruto that they can arrest Rigathi Gachagua. And he must understand that the country is divided from the local Kenyans to the people who are working in the government and those in the security forces. And they are ready to protect Rigathi Gachagua. You know, the kind of politics that Rigathi Gachagua plays can only be compared to one that Raila used to play, where some people would sit in a clandestine meeting, plan to harm him, then before you execute the plan, the people who are in the meeting will call Raila and tell him, we love you for what you're doing to this country, and we cannot accept this to happen. We were in such a meeting, and this is what was deliberated, and we concluded that you are going to be, harmed, and they give this information. Such is the politics that Rigathi Gachagua has started playing. Rigathi is explaining and revealing that yesterday, when we saw the Subaru vehicles cordoning his homes in Karen and Wamunyoro, there were plans not only to arrest him. He's now saying that the plans were not only to arrest him, the plans were to, kill him using some chemical weapons. The plans were to plant certain illegal firearms so that the government could get ground to charge them. And Rigathi is revealing something more startling, that there are forces within Ruto camp, the Kenya police and the military, who do not agree with the plans to commit, heinous crimes, to kill or to maim. And these are the people who revealed to Rigathi that there are people who want to kill you. And they are the same people who provided Rigathi Gachagua with this early intel and told him how to dodge Ruto's dragnet. And I think if what Rigathi is talking about is anything to go by, William Ruto is in trouble. And if he's not very careful, William Ruto is biting more than he can chew. Ladies and gentlemen, I want us to look at Rigathi's statement, then we come back and dissect it, because William Ruto is in hot soup. In fact, if I were to advise William Ruto, let Rigathi Gachagua be. Because the more you touch Rigathi Gachagua, the more he comes up with more startling revelations. Sooner than later, Rigathi will come with the revelation of how votes were rigged in 2022, and he will have the numbers, because Rigathi Gachagua is not a joke. Please subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, like and share our videos. Let us watch Rigathi.
I received intelligence reports that President William Ruto had ordered that I be dealt with once and for all. And since the goons sponsored by the state on several occasions had failed, police and other state security agencies had to come in. At about 11 a.m., same Sunday, 18th May 2025, this information was communicated to the Inspector General of Police, the Director General of the National Intelligence Service, and the Director of Criminal Investigations by the CS Interior Kipchumba Murkomen, and consequently, a killer squad composed of 101 lethal and dreaded officers from the administration police and seconded to the National Intelligence Service, accompanied by officers from the DCI, the Anti-Terrorism Police Unit, the General Service Unit, and the regular police were deployed. This killer squad have been carrying out extrajudicial killings and abductions Yesterday, they were mobilized and cordoned off and blocked all exits from Gatanga constituency. This squad was armed to the teeth and hooded and with masks to conceal their identity because of the heinous acts they wanted to commit on us. This is despite that there are existing guidelines from the High Court that officers should be in uniform and not conceal their identity. At about 2:30 p.m., we received further intelligence from the deployed patriotic officers who are not in agreement with the information that they had clear instructions to plant arms and weapons in our convoy to provide evidence to arrest us and get evidence that they could charge us with in court. After about 30 minutes, the killer squad was joined by their counterparts who are highly trained in the use of biological weapons. Their instructions were to poison me through inhaled chemicals that would paralyze my brain within 3 months. This was the intent and the purpose of the whole operation. My team and I sought alternative routes as guided by the deployed security personnel, majority of whom are our supporters and opposed to what is going on. We have credible information that President Ruto has directed that my private security personnel be disarmed and be targeted for withdrawal of their licenses so that they can leave me vulnerable to allow room for goons to attack and possibly eliminate me. President William Ruto has expressed ungovernable anger that the state-sponsored goons are being overpowered by my private security personnel who are licensed gun holders. President Ruto is furious that the people of Kenya have not forgotten about the Kiambaa church massacre, where children and women were tortured in the 2007 and /8 post-election violence, and is unhappy that I keep on reminding the people of Kenya of the heinous act. I want to say that although Kenyans forgive each other, they cannot forget this, and there is nothing the president can do about it. The president was also utterly livid that I exposed his grabbing of 5-acre piece of land inside Gong Forest, where he intends to put a private hotel. About my statement on post-election violence, this was a precautionary statement and not incitement. It is based on historical facts and past electoral experiences of 1992, 1997, and 2007 controversial elections, that we must have a free and fair election in 2027. It is my civic duty as a leader to remind IEBC, all agencies and institutions charged with election management, that they must deliver free, fair, verifiable, and credible election. I have heard the CS Interior and other pretenders to the throne claim that they will not allow political violence. I urge them to walk the talk. Since November 2024, political violence of great magnitude has been meted on me, my family, and my supporters. Not a single case has been prosecuted. For instance, on 28th...
So, ladies and gentlemen, with politicians, you don't know whether to trust Rigathi Gachagua or not. But Rigathi Gachagua came up boldly and told us that there were plans to kill him. Now, let me tell you why William Ruto is in trouble. Number one, we saw pictures of Subaru vehicles around his home. That was there. Or alleged vehicles, they were there. Then, yesterday, Rigathi told us that there were plans to arrest George Natembeya. Natembeya was arrested today. So if you connect the dots, Rigathi says it was by a whisker that some of the dissenting forces that are loyal to him gave him this intel. That is why he escaped. Otherwise, he would have also been arrested. So you can connect the dots, and Kenyans will agree with Rigathi Gachagua, because whatever he says and the evidence of Natembeya corroborates what he's talking about. Number two, this is not the first time we hear of a killer squad. When Raila was on the streets with his Azimio brigade, they used to talk of a killer squad. Any government has a killer squad. Rigathi Gachagua He's an insider or a former insider. He's got forces that are loyal to him. So people will agree with Rigathi Gachagua. And indeed, they will say there were plans to do what? To kill him. I will repeat that Rigathi Gachagua continues to portray William Ruto as a murderer. Because in his statement, he's talking about Kiamba. And is reminding Kenyans, and I think this message, he wants this message to go to the Mount Kenya fraternity, that this man killed us. This man is a murderer, and that's why he wants to kill me. You see, I believe this is why Rigathi Gachagua has crossed that red line. That's why William Ruto feels so much rage, but there's nothing he can do. William Ruto, Rigathi Gachagua understands that recently BBC said William Ruto, through his policemen and the loyal KDF, butchered the youths who went and stormed parliament. And he knows that if this information is coming at this moment, the whole world will connect that indeed this is a murderer. And that is the picture that is trying to paint to the world. Number two, that should even worry William Ruto is that they can sit in a meeting, select forces that they believe are so loyal, because if what Rigathi is saying is true, a plan to murder someone is not given to any Tom, Dick, and Harry. It goes to the loyal forces, those who believe will do it and keep the secret. This is the team that has been infiltrated by those whom William Ruto feel are his forces, yet they are loyal to Rigathi Gachagua. And this must worry William Ruto, because moving forward, he doesn't know how he's going to deal with Rigathi Gachagua. For you to do it, William Ruto cannot go and attack Rigathi in person. He must send the forces. Now, if these are the forces that give Rigathi Gachagua intel, then William Ruto is in trouble. There is nothing that will happen. They will plan to go and arrest him. Before they arrest him, Rigathi knows. And you know, Rigathi says he's a truthful man. He will always tell the people, tell Kenyans, you know, from now henceforth, if anything happens to Rigathi Gachagua, then in the court of the public opinion, they will hold William Ruto responsible. Because the general feeling is William Ruto has begun a crackdown on dissenting views to try and annihilate or silence the opposition, because the opposition is growing big after Rigathi Gachagua launched his party, after Matiang'i was received well in his home, and they have decided they are going to stick together. So what Rigathi is telling the nation is, if anything happens to me or any member of my family, then I can assure you the person who is responsible, the person who has signed and given a green light for me to be murdered is William Ruto. And let me tell you, Rigathi is not a fool. Whether whatever he's saying is true or not, he's trying to liken what happened to Matiba to what is now happening to him. Remember, sometimes back, the Kenyan members of parliament decided to play tribal politics, and they were saying that when Kenyatta, Kibaki, and Uhuru were in power, we never had the song, I don't know, Uhuru must go, Kibaki must go. But now that Ruto is in power, there is a sudden, paradigm shift. People are saying Ruto must go. And they are also explaining that there was an attempt to overthrow the government of Moi. And so they were saying there are people who do not want to see a Kalenjin in power. So this is what Rigathi is also doing. Rigathi is also playing another direct rebuttal. He's now trying to give them that analogy without mentioning it, that Moi, who was a Kalenjin, paralyzed. It is known that he put Matiba under detention to an extent that Matiba became paralyzed. Some even think that he was injected with mercury. I've heard several stories. So what Rigathi Gachagua is saying here is, this is now a Kalenjin president who wants to, because whatever is saying that the chemical that was supposed to be used on him was to paralyze him within 3 months. So Rigathi Gachagua knows well what he's doing. He's telling them, the Kalenjin presidents who are now saying that they're being targeted are the people who are now targeting us. And Rigathi Gachagua is ensuring that moving forward, William Ruto will be unwanted in Mount Kenya. This is happening at a time when Kithure Kindiki has launched another campaign. He is meeting people, town hall meetings, women empowerment. There's a lot of money that is being pumped because they want to build Kithure Kindiki to take over from Rigathi Gachagua. These people will not match Rigathi Gachagua. In fact, William Ruto should let a sleeping dog be. Because if you wake them, I can assure you will be beaten. Rigathi is a force that cannot be joked around with. William Ruto thought that this man is a passing cloud. Just the same way, I'm told that when Moi was appointed to be the vice president under Kenyatta regime, they thought Moi was a passing cloud. The idea of impeaching Rigathi Gachagua was a wrong move because William Ruto is now committing more mistakes to tame Rigathi Gachagua. More mistakes. And what Rigathi is trying to portray here is, this man wants to kill me because I have already said he killed people in Kiamba. I'm already revealing that he's a land grabber. He's grabbing some land in Gong Forest. William Ruto cannot win this. He cannot win this because Rigathi has studied and he knows that politics is about perception. And he's now portraying William Ruto as this man who is a murderer, who is a corrupt man, mwizi, is a land grabber. And that is how, for the period that William Ruto has been in the presidency team, vice president for 2 terms, and now, that is what people feel about him. And that is exactly what Rigathi Gachagua wants to perpetuate. Ladies and gentlemen, the allegations of killing someone is very, very saddening. William Ruto, through some of his proxies, had said Rigathi wanted to topple his government. Rigathi said the NIS wanted to poison me. This is another allegation touching on death threats. I can assure you, if this is not handled, it is going to be very detrimental to us. We don't want to hear that people disagree and they want to kill each other. This is not the first time people have been betrayed. Can we just play our politics based on policies? Let Rigathi and his team sell policies. Let them say Kasongo must go, and they tell us what they want to do after Kasongo is gone. Let Kasongo says, this is what I've achieved. But all these allegations of death are not really good for us. What do you make out of Rigathi's allegations? Because William Ruto is not safe anymore. His police and the security operators have been infiltrated by those who are loyal to Rigathi. Rigathi is also not very safe because he's saying, were it not for the very loyal forces, it will be a gone case. What do you think?